Rihanna, a name that's synonymous with immense success. Over the course of 2 decades, she built a career most artists can only dream of. Countless chart-topping hits and a cultural influence that transcends music. But then she did something almost unthinkable. She stepped away from music at the height of her powers. At first glance, her decision left fans confused. Why would one of the most successful artists of all time abandon the stage?
And I would say music was the thing that got the attention. But God had other plans for me, and I was able to create in ways that was very sincere and genuine or organic and authentic to the things that I love.
But here's the real question. Would you want someone you respect and admire to return to an industry that has been repeatedly exposed for its dark side, pressuring artists to sign contracts?
He said there are 2 ways to leave here, either through the door with the deal sign or through this window, and we're on the 29th floor.
Working them to the brink of exhaustion with relentless touring schedules and production demands, and expecting them to get into unimaginable situations to advance their careers?
Rihanna, did you attend any of P. Diddy's parties? Were you involved in any of the freak-offs? That's crazy.
And tonight, who are you going to be partying with after? Because, we have to party after.
Puff Daddy always has the best parties, so I might be heading over to his party later on.
The truth is, the music industry isn't just about glitz, glamour, and Grammy trophies. Behind the scenes, it's often a pressure cooker of relentless grind culture, exploitative contracts, and abusive power dynamics. After launching successful businesses, Rihanna didn't just walk away from that world, she ran. And in doing so, she may have made the smartest decision of her career. From the extraordinary highs of her music career to the grim realities of an industry steeped in scandal, we'll explore why Rihanna quitting music might be the best thing she's ever done. Not just for herself, but for her fans, her legacy, and the future of music itself.
This next artist from Barbados. She's currently #1 on iTunes right now. #1 song, 10,000 spins. She goes by the name of Rihanna. Everybody make some noise for Rihanna.
After being discovered at just 16, Rihanna followed a strategy that quickly established her as a dominant force in the music industry. Her label, Def Jam, under then-President Jay-Z, pushed for frequent releases to maximize her commercial success. Over the first 7 years of her career, she would release an astounding 7 albums, averaging nearly 1 album a year. This pace exemplified the music industry's relentless expectation for artists to maintain relevance through constant output. But what made Rihanna stand out wasn't simply the sheer volume of music she released. Each of her albums played a distinct role in shaping her career and reflected her growth as an artist who defied expectations and continually redefined her place in the music industry. Rihanna's debut album, Music of the Sun, introduced the world to a young artist from Barbados with a distinctive voice and an undeniable presence. While the album was commercially successful, it primarily served as a foundation. It was a stepping stone that highlighted her potential rather than defining her sound. This release positioned Rihanna as a fresh face in the industry with the promise of global appeal. Released less than a year after her debut, A Girl Like Me demonstrated Rihanna's ability to evolve quickly. The album leaned more heavily into mainstream pop with hits like SOS and Unfaithful that appealed to a broader audience. This album began to bridge the gap between her Caribbean roots and the global pop market and showed her adaptability and potential for long-term stardom. Her third album, Good Girl Gone Bad, marked a pivotal turning point in Rihanna's career. With this album, she fully embraced an edgier persona that separated her from the girl next door image of her earlier work. Tracks like Umbrella and Don't Stop the Music dominated the charts and became cultural staples. Following a highly publicized personal crisis involving her then boyfriend Chris Brown, Rated R showcased a more introspective side of Rihanna. The album explored themes of resilience, anger, and vulnerability with tracks like Russian Roulette and Hard. This was a departure from the high-energy pop of her previous work, which offered a raw and emotional narrative that reflected her personal struggles. With Loud, Rihanna returned to the upbeat, radio-friendly sound that made her a global superstar, but with a maturity and confidence that reflected her growth as an artist. Songs like Only Girl in the World, What's My Name, and S&M dominated the airwaves and cemented her reputation as a hitmaker. This album balanced fun and flirtation with sophistication, proving that Rihanna could effortlessly command both the pop charts and the club scene. Talk That Talk continued the high-energy momentum of Loud and leaned even further into Rihanna's mastery of infectious party anthems. The album delivered hits like We Found Love and Where Have You Been, both of which became global dance floor staples. This album reinforced Rihanna's role as a leader in pop and EDM and expanded her influence in the dance music scene while maintaining her R&B core. With Unapologetic, Rihanna embraced a new level of artistic boldness. The album's lead single, Diamonds, was an anthemic ballad with emotional depth, while tracks like Pour It Up leaned into gritty themes of indulgence and self-empowerment. This album also highlighted Rihanna's willingness to experiment with genre and narrative, blending pop, R&B, and hip-hop elements. Unapologetic was a declaration of independence, reflecting her growth as an artist unafraid to push boundaries. Each new album brought in revenue from album sales, tours, and merchandise, making her one of her label's most profitable artists during this period. This aggressive marketing strategy worked particularly well because Rihanna exhibited a rare adaptability. She transcended genre boundaries and could seamlessly move between reggae, R&B, pop, and EDM. Her greatest hits dominated charts worldwide and showed her ability to stay ahead of trends and shape them. In this way, Rihanna's career epitomized the expectations of the ideal 21st century pop star: marketable, versatile, and relentless. The period between Rihanna's 2012 album Unapologetic and her 2016 release Anti marked a dramatic departure from the relentless pace that had defined her career up to that point. The release of her previous album marked the completion of Rihanna's contractual obligations with Def Jam. Over the years, the label had largely shaped her career by emphasizing a hit-driven approach to her music. But while this strategy brought commercial success, it left limited room for Rihanna to explore her artistic potential on her own terms. After fulfilling her obligations, Rihanna signed a new agreement with Roc Nation and gained increased creative control. This allowed her to oversee not just her music, but also her brand and business interests. This newfound autonomy fundamentally changed how Rihanna approached her work. For the first time, she resisted the industry's expectation to churn out another album quickly to capitalize on her momentum. Instead, she used this time to critically consider her next steps as an artist and explored a path that prioritized quality, experimentation, and personal expression over commercial trends. Singles like 4 5 Seconds, Bitch Better Have My Money, and American Oxygen hinted at her willingness to experiment and defy expectations. These songs were stylistically diverse, ranging from acoustic ballads to hard-hitting trap anthems, and did not conform to the typical radio-friendly hits the industry had come to expect from her. With increased control over the rollout of her music, marketing strategies, and overall artistic direction, Rihanna orchestrated the release of Anti with a level of intentionality that was unprecedented in her career. She took the time to craft an album that was more experimental and proved that stepping away from the grind of the music industry was not a retreat, but a necessary act of reinvention. After the release of Anti in 2016, Rihanna took an indefinite hiatus from music. Instead of rushing to capitalize on her momentum with another album, she pivoted to other ventures and became a widely successful business mogul. By prioritizing her autonomy over the relentless grind of maintaining chart dominance, Rihanna challenged the very norms that had defined her career up to that point. But while her entrepreneurial success garnered widespread acclaim, some fans were left feeling frustrated, sometimes even betrayed, by her decision to step away from music. This discontent reflected not just the implicit expectations tied to her celebrity, but also the cultural assumptions about what an artist owes to their audience. For many fans, Rihanna's music has been a cornerstone of their lives, a soundtrack to pivotal moments and emotional milestones. While her ventures in beauty and fashion have been celebrated, they don't replicate the deeply personal experience of her music. The bond between Rihanna and her fans is emblematic of parasocial relationships. a phenomenon where audiences form one-sided connections with celebrities. For nearly 2 decades, Rihanna's fans have developed a sense of intimacy with her. But her shift away from music challenges this dynamic and forces fans to reconcile their expectations with her autonomy. Unfortunately, parasocial relationships thrive on the illusion of closeness. Rihanna's relatable personality fostered a sense of familiarity and made fans feel as though they knew her personally. Her openness about personal struggles, such as her public journey through heartbreak, allowed fans to see her as more than a celebrity. Yet parasocial dynamics often come with unspoken expectations, where fans feel entitled to an artist's continued output or presence. Rihanna's decision to step away from music complicates this relationship. It forces fans to confront the reality that their connection, while meaningful, is ultimately one-sided. Her choice to prioritize her autonomy challenges the notion that artists exist solely to serve their audiences. But this entitlement doesn't exist in isolation. It is compounded by the exploitative and toxic nature of the music industry itself. Beneath its glittering facade, the music industry is riddled with systemic issues that prioritize profit over artistry and well-being. By dissecting these challenges, we can better understand why leaving the industry might be not only necessary for Rihanna, but also symptomatic of a broader problem. Let's go back to the beginning of Rihanna's career. When asked in interviews about the pace at which her career was progressing, Rihanna would usually respond that she felt really satisfied and that she enjoyed working at a relentless pace.
Your life has changed, you're doing many things. Don't you feel like it's going too quick and like you're spoiling your light years, the years that you should be?
I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything. Like, this is everything I've ever dreamed of, so I'm living it.
While this was probably true at the time, grind culture in the music industry is not simply a byproduct of individual ambition, but a systemic issue deeply rooted in structures of power and profit. Record labels, managers, and other parties have a vested interest in keeping their artists productive, as their own financial success depends on a steady stream of revenue generated by album sales, streaming royalties, merchandise, and tours. Rihanna was only 17 years old when she signed her recording contract with Def Jam, which included a commitment to 6 albums. After her audition, Jay-Z and L.A. Reid insisted that she not leave the building until the contract was signed. This ultimately led to her signing the contract that night after waiting in Jay-Z's office until 3 a.m. After signing to Def Jam, Rihanna experienced the mainstream industry's endless grind culture, where relentless productivity and constant visibility are seen as the ultimate markers of success. For decades, this system has demanded that artists churn out albums, singles, and performances at a breakneck pace, which often leaves little room for genuine creativity, reflection, or personal well-being. This culture, while profitable for record labels and stakeholders, can come at an immense cost to the mental, physical, and emotional health of the artists it depends on.
Entire trip, in order to make it to the end, you have to literally nurse your step every step of the way, the entire time, because it's so much work, so much on your body, so much on your immune system.
This relentless cycle creates a framework where downtime is viewed as a liability, and any extended pause in output can be perceived as a sign of waning relevance. This constant demand for fresh material feeds into the grind culture, where genuine creative expression is often sacrificed in favor of meeting the insatiable demands of an ever-hungry market. Touring, which is often romanticized as the pinnacle of a musician's career, is actually one of the most grueling aspects of this grind. Artists frequently endure weeks or months of relentless travel, performing night after night with little time to recharge. The pressure to maintain a public persona during these periods further compounds the stress, which creates an environment where artists feel they must always be on, regardless of their internal struggles. Rihanna's pivot to entrepreneurship with her brands marked a revolutionary shift in how celebrities, particularly music artists, could expand their influence beyond their primary craft. Unlike traditional celebrity brand collaborations that centered around endorsements or licensing agreements, Rihanna's ventures were fundamentally different. They were driven by her personal vision, creative control, and financial ownership. By forging a path that emphasized authenticity and autonomy, Rihanna not only set a new standard for celebrity entrepreneurship, but also created a viable alternative to the exploitative structures of the music industry. Historically, celebrity collaborations with brands often took the form of endorsements. Celebrities lent their image and name to promote products in exchange for a fee, with little involvement in the creative process or the operational aspects of the business. While lucrative, this model positioned celebrities as spokespeople rather than creators, and left them with little control over the brand's direction or its alignment with their personal values. Rihanna's approach with Fenty Beauty and Savage X Fenty disrupted this paradigm. She wasn't merely endorsing a product, she was building brands that reflected her identity and values. Fenty Beauty was revolutionary in its emphasis on inclusivity, as it offered 40 foundation shades to cater to a diverse range of skin tones. This move not only addressed a glaring gap in the beauty industry, but also showcased Rihanna's commitment to social impact through her business ventures. Similarly, Savage X Fenty redefined the lingerie market by promoting inclusivity, which challenged the narrow beauty standards perpetuated by traditional brands like Victoria's Secret. This model of entrepreneurship, rooted in authenticity and representation, allowed Rihanna to establish herself as a cultural force beyond music and enjoy an unprecedented level of creative control. The financial success of her ventures eventually insulated her from the need to re-enter the music industry purely for economic reasons. Expecting Rihanna to return to an industry known for its toxicity when she has successfully forged a path that allows her to flourish independently is unreasonable, to say the least. The music industry, despite its cultural significance, remains a space where artists are often overworked and subjected to intense scrutiny. Or even worse, Rihanna has already endured the pressures of this system, and her decision to pivot to other ventures reflects a deliberate choice to prioritize her personal and professional growth. We should note that Rihanna's ability to step away from music is a privilege, but it is one that she has earned through years of hard work and strategic decisions. Her success in business provides her with the freedom to choose how she engages with her creative passions, and she should not feel compelled to re-enter a system that compromises her autonomy or well-being. One of the most significant shifts in Rihanna's life since leaving the music industry has been her embrace of motherhood. In 2022, she welcomed her first child, a milestone that brought her a new sense of purpose and fulfillment. In interviews, she has spoken about the joy and perspective that motherhood has brought her, allowing her to view her life and legacy through a different lens. For someone who spent years in the relentless spotlight, the private, intimate joys of raising a child probably provided a much-needed counterbalance to the public demands of her earlier career. Her absence from the industry has left a significant void, one that is now being filled by emerging artists who are forging their own paths and redefining the sound and spirit of the music world. Rihanna's decision not to release new music since Anti might seem like a loss to fans, but it could actually be one of the most profound moves for her legacy. By stepping away at the peak of her artistic prowess, she's ensured that her discography remains untouched by potential oversaturation or diminishing returns. In an industry where longevity often leads to uneven output, Rihanna's hiatus safeguards her body of work as a cohesive, high-quality legacy that reflects her evolution as an artist. Many artists who continue to release music long after their peak often face the challenge of maintaining the same level of impact and relevance. By contrast, Rihanna's discography is compact, purposeful, and representative of a specific era of cultural dominance. By refraining from releasing new music, she allows her existing work to speak for itself, untainted by the pressure to conform to fleeting trends or maintain chart presence. Rihanna's absence from the music industry has also contributed to her mystique, making her work feel more special and irreplaceable. Artists like Lauryn Hill, who released just one solo studio album, have demonstrated the enduring power of restraint. Her decision to step away from music left her work enshrined in cultural memory and untouched by the diminishing effects of overproduction. Similarly, Rihanna's hiatus creates an aura of anticipation and reverence around her music. Fans continue to revisit her discography without the distraction of new material that might not live up to their expectations. This absence only enhances her legacy by making her contributions to music feel finite and therefore more valuable. This act of stepping aside also encourages fans to explore a wider range of artists. Rihanna's music once served as a gravitational center for pop and R&B and could draw attention away from smaller or emerging artists. With her stepping back, the industry has also opened up to a more diverse range of styles and voices. Since the release of Rihanna's last album, a new generation of artists gained increased prominence by bringing their unique perspectives and sounds to the forefront. These artists, many of whom cite Rihanna as an influence, have been able to carve out their own niches without the pressure of competing directly with her towering presence. Ultimately, Rihanna's decision not to release new music aligns with her broader journey of self-definition and autonomy. She has proven that her legacy is not confined to her work as a musician, but extends to her impact as a businesswoman, philanthropist, and cultural trailblazer. By stepping back, she has shown that an artist's worth is not tied to their productivity, but to the enduring resonance of their work. In many ways, not releasing new music has become an act of self-preservation, not just for Rihanna's well-being, but for the integrity of her legacy. Rihanna's restraint speaks to her confidence in what she's already accomplished and reminds us that sometimes the greatest act of artistry is knowing when to step away.